Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a massive ancient epic to discover exactly what a mythical monster can teach us about our own modern minds. We're going to unpack a really profound story from the Bhagavata Purana, which is this ancient text that's just absolutely packed with layers of meaning. On the surface, sure, it sounds like a dramatic tale of a monstrous beast, but when we look a little closer at the symbolism, it reveals a fascinating psychological and spiritual roadmap.
So what actually happens when ambition turns into an absolute monster? Well, to answer that, we need to set the scene. Picture the sacred forests of Vrindavan. The atmosphere is incredibly tense. Dark storm clouds are gathering rapidly overhead, the wind is howling, and wild animals are scattering in total panic. Far away in the city of Mathura, a terrified tyrannical king named Kamsa has decided to send a deadly, unstoppable servant to eliminate a threat. That threat is Krishna. And the servant he sends? Guys, it's not just a soldier, it is a literal nightmare made flesh.
He sends Keshi. Imagine a gigantic horse demon crashing through a serene forest like a violent hurricane. His enormous body is as dark as the thunderclouds above. Fire literally bursts from his mouth with every single breath. His terrifying neigh shakes the mountains, uprooting ancient trees as he races forward. The ground is violently shaking. It's pure, deafening chaos. But then, right in the direct path of this overwhelming destruction, stands Krishna. Perfectly still, perfectly calm, totally unmoved by the roaring storm charging right at him.
All right, let's let the dust settle for a second here and look at the deeper meaning. Keshi isn't just a physical monster, you know. He is the literal embodiment of uncontrolled ego and arrogant pride. Think of a wild, untamed horse that completely refuses a rider, just running blind with zero discipline. That is exactly what our own pride looks like when it's left completely unchecked.
Because think about it, when that wild, undisciplined mind takes the reins, it becomes immensely dangerous. Anger inevitably spikes, and humility, it just entirely disappears. It destroys our inner peace, replacing it with this restless need to dominate, which makes any true spiritual wisdom impossible to grasp. A mind that runs like an untamed horse isn't just a danger to the people around us who get trampled by our arrogance, it's actually a massive danger to ourselves.
Section 1. The Roots of Arrogance. Keshi's Past Lives.
You know what's really fascinating here? This monstrous ego didn't just pop out of nowhere. Look at this karmic progression from the source text. 3 lifetimes ago, it started simply as a strong desire for power and dominance, something a lot of us might actually recognize. By the next lifetime, this had hardened into mocking humility and actively rejecting wisdom. 1 lifetime ago, it evolved into uncontrollable, blinding pride. And in the present day of our story, that compounding arrogance has literally transformed his consciousness into a fierce, violent monster. So the crucial point is that uncontrolled ambition without wisdom doesn't just make you difficult to be around. It slowly, over time, creates immense and devastating suffering.
Section 2. The Clash of Consciousness. Keshi challenges Krishna. So, destiny forces a showdown. As Keshi violently charges, trying to swallow Krishna whole, we see this brilliant illustration of the ultimate battle of opposites. On the one side, you have the restless, consuming ego, rage, speed, and domination. On the other side, Krishna, representing the immovable control of divine consciousness, deep peace, and absolute stillness. The ego is literally about to crash headfirst into an unmovable wall of truth. Section 3. Liberation through defeat. Confronting the ego. Now, as Keshi lunges forward, Krishna doesn't draw a sword. Actually, scratch that, he doesn't even flinch. Instead, he thrusts his arm directly into the demon's massive mouth, and it instantly begins to expand with blazing cosmic power. The imagery here is absolutely staggering. It perfectly symbolizes divine truth entering the ego. When false pride makes direct contact with higher consciousness, it suffocates. Why? Because the space of ignorance it needs to exist is entirely filled up by truth. There's literally no room left for the ego.
And for us, true spiritual growth requires these exact same steps. It demands surrender, letting go of that intense need to control everything. It requires humility, the self-control to rein in that wild inner horse. And finally, devotion. When the ego is confronted by these undeniable tools of truth, it completely loses its power and suffocates. But here's the crazy part. The destruction of the ego isn't framed as a tragedy here. It's a total triumph. The second the demon's body hits the ground, the storm clouds completely vanish. Peace instantly returns to the forest.
The gods start showering fragrant flowers from the heavens, and something incredible happens. A radiant, golden spiritual light emerges directly out of the defeated body of the monster.
That radiant light? That's the true soul, finally freed. This is the ultimate definition of liberation in this context, the destruction of the false ego to save and awaken the underlying soul. Krishna grants liberation even to his enemy. It's a profound reminder that even painful defeat, even the total shattering of our most deeply held pride, can act as a massive spiritual awakening. Sometimes hitting rock bottom and having our arrogance destroyed is exactly what opens our hearts to grace.
Section 4. Taming your inner horse. The modern application.
Because let's be real, the ancient text suggests this demon still lives within the human mind right now. Our own inner untamed horse continuously shows up in our daily lives. It's arrogance, it's that wild ambition to step on others just to get ahead, flashes of burning anger, the desperate need to dominate every single argument, and yes, even spiritual pride, thinking we're somehow better than others because of what we know or practice. These are the fiery breaths and shaking hooves of our own personal Keshi trying to run the whole show.
So how do we actually stop this thing? Well, the source gives us some clear, actionable takeaways. We don't have to sit around waiting for a cosmic battle. We can tame that inner horse through daily spiritual disciplines. Practices like meditation and chanting quiet the mind. Practicing active humility and intense self-awareness helps us catch that ego before it takes off running. By cultivating devotion, we take that restless, powerful mind and turn it into a controlled servant of wisdom instead of just being a slave to its arrogant impulses.
The core message we should all take away from this whole shebang is that no matter how immense our arrogance seems, no matter how much noise our inner demon makes, it will always, eventually, collapse before divine truth. Kamsi showed up filled with absolute pride, but before the calm stillness of Krishna, the greatest arrogance was entirely undone. Divine love doesn't destroy you, it destroys the ego to awaken the soul to its true potential.
Which brings us to the traditional chant highlighted in the source, used for centuries to quiet the mind and remember the divine presence that humbles the ego. As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to really think about the wild horses running through your own mind today. Where is your ambition turning into a monster? And are you finally ready to stop letting pride hold the reins and face your own inner horse to achieve true peace?